Well, hello, hello. Hope everybody is doing well. Welcome. It's good to see all your faces. We are in December of 2023, and this is our Too Sexy for DNN and Octane meetup. It's been going on for, I don't know, how many times we've been doing this? Maybe 7 or 8 times so far, maybe a little bit more. I kind of started losing track because we've skipped a few months here and there as schedules have not permitted sometimes. But it's nice to get some momentum here. Good to see people starting to join and find some value in this content. Today, let's see, we're going to do a workshop today. And honestly, we tried to do it once before, but I think the topic was probably so big and we didn't have the help of the big guy, at that one. And we were going to try to build Too Sexy. That was going to be like a massive undertaking. So we kind of just sit and chatted for a little while on that one and didn't really do a workshop per se. So today is actually an introduction, I guess, of the workshop format for this. And I hope you find it valuable. If not, let me know because we can switch things up a little bit. But we basically have 3 different formats. Hopefully I can remember them now. So we got the workshop kind of thing where we actually build something together, and I encourage everybody to just join along and on your own machines and try to do this as we go through it. I'll be leading today, but hopefully in the future, some other people would like to participate and lead a format like this. The second format is really just standard traditional kind of presentation format where somebody has a topic that's going to take more than 5 or 10 minutes to present. And usually we still try to keep the meetup within an hour here to respect everybody's time. But if you have a presentation that's 20 to 30 minutes or so, that leaves enough time for question and answers and stuff like that at the end. So if you're interested in presenting a topic, you don't have to be an expert in this. As a matter of fact, just present something and then everybody will nicely critique and help you along. So maybe it's something that you an interesting challenge that you ran into with a client project or something like that, and you kind of share how you went through it or what your thought process is, and then open it up for evaluation and get some free help in the process. So that could be a good presentation as well. Or you may just have a particular topic that's just basics. I mean, I think sometimes people forget that there are people out here don't even know the basics. So having something very basic to show how to do something is great. And that's one of the things we're going to kind of do today. It's not super basic, but it's on the, it may not feel basic, but it's going to be pretty basic in the end. Of course, that's the way it is, right? Once you see something, it becomes more basic to you. So, and then the third and last format is probably one of the most popular, and that was what we did last month at the November meetup. It was a show and tell kind of format, and that was very nice to just kind of have random, hey, I did this cool thing, check this out, or hey, I ran into this problem and let me show you and see if anybody has any ideas. So it's that's a nice format as well, and it's a little bit of a round robin kind of thing. Let me share my screen and we'll get into a few little community things. Hopefully I'm sharing the correct screen. You guys seeing the meetup page? I'm assuming that is a yes. Okay. Oh, I had the video hidden. I see the nods. Thank you. By the way, if you're joining us after the fact on YouTube, thanks for joining and hope you can join a live meetup sometime. But it's great to be able to publish this kind of content and make it evergreen out there for people to see. It's a lot of valuable stuff. So, I'm on the wrong one. Let's see. Today is the December one here. And what has happened really since last meetup? The last meetup was on November the 8th of 2023. And I think we've had one release of Too Sexy since then. We're out on the GitHub page here, and this is Too Sexy 16.9 for Octane 5 and .NET 8. So it looked like some really big stuff. But if you're in the Octane space, I think you're probably especially excited about this one and some of the upgrades here. I don't know, Daniel or Tonti or something you'll want to chime in and just say kind of a little bit, give a highlight about what this is.
Sure. Sure. So of course, .NET 8 came out with a bunch of really cool new features, and Octane, of course, tried to make sure that they can release almost at the same time because that way you get a bigger audience. So Octane came out like 2 days after .NET 8, and 2Sexy took another 2 to 3 days to just make sure everything runs. That didn't actually need much adjustment. Something was necessary, but it works now. And that's really important. So if you go to things like blazercms.org or something, you will see an Octane 5. And what's really neat, by the way, is the performance is a lot better than before. I mean, the performance was already pretty good before, but now it really feels like it's just another notch, like 30% faster. And that's mostly due to stuff Microsoft did with .NET 8. And so that's pretty impressive. There were some minor bugs, and I think point 4 on this list is also, which is quite valuable. So basically all of our apps now are released as typed code, which just gives everybody way more examples to see how to do things. When I say all apps, it's really all apps with the exception of the content app. The content app is like the most basic one with picture image things. And we kept that one the classic way to start with, just to make sure that everybody's still on the same page and gets into it quickly. In 2Sexy 17, we're also going to release the content app in typed mode as well. It was just, we had to kind of figure out, is this something everybody will kind of understand with the typed code? And from what we've seen, it doesn't make much of a difference for people to read the code and all that. So we think it's like the only way we're going to code in the future. And so we're also going to update the content app to fit that.
Great. So just to clarify for those that I guess may not even be aware of this, when you say all apps, are you referring to all of the apps in the gallery out here?
Yes, to be exact, it's all the apps that are also recommended for installing when you install 2Sexy.
Okay.
So because the list is quite long, it even has some quite old tutorial apps which we might need to flush someday. So those are not updated, but
some of these top
anything.
apps, though, I guess is probably safe to say those have been updated.
Yes, all of them.
Okay, great. That's cool. So yeah, if you are not aware, there's a lot of open source apps that you can utilize, and Daniel and his team maintain these on GitHub out here. But you can go to 2sexy.org, click on the apps tab, and you'll see an entire directory here, so you can kind of pick what area you're most interested in. You know, what technology base is there, you know, what kind of complexity level, and filter them by certain tags as well. But even if you don't use these apps in real applications, you know, or production implementation, which you can absolutely and welcome to, if nothing else, they provide a great learning kind of environment. So like if they update something like to do the new Razor typed and you're kind of interested in that, pick a simple one that uses this and dig in there and try to learn a little bit that way. So it's a great tool for that. So thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, and Jeremy just asked, because I think he just didn't quite understand it. Yes, the content app is going to be typed as well when we release 2Sexy 17, which we hope to do within just a few days. And that'll just make sure that the code is consistent.
Nice. Now, for those that are on DNN, Daniel, is there anything here other than just that other apps are typed now that is of highlight worthiness?
No, I think the rest of the stuff is like, well, maybe the 0.7 is something that's also a little bit interesting. There's a certain need sometimes. We just had one customer who wanted to have copyright information on every single picture. It's the first time we've run into it, but it seems like a plausible need, both for declaring it, saying who made the picture and everything. And this is still like a beta feature, but it basically allows you to activate something, and then all the pictures don't just have the positioning toolbar, but will also let you specify copyright information, which you can also reuse. So if you would say, like, I have this author and he's made 20 pictures, you don't have to type in the information 20 times. And so we're still looking at streamlining that. The output is like not happening yet. Basically, you need to style that yourself. But that's something that I think is going to be like pretty interesting for, let's say, enterprise kind of systems, which have a lot of external pictures.
Nice.
Number 3 was a big fix for me on one of my projects.
What is that in-page stuff there? What was that for?
That's just a JavaScript that's loaded when you're in edit mode, when you're logged on, and it was not minified, so just a minor bug.
And it was pretty large in its native state. It made a big difference getting it minified.
Oh, nice. So a good little performance boost there, I guess. That's good. Now, I guess the other highlight worthy point here is that this was not marked as an LTS. And I saw in the chat here from Steve, wondering if 2Sexy17 is going to be the next LTS, or do you anticipate potentially having an LTS in the 16 realm?
So 2Sexy17 is supposed to come out within just a few days. It's not going to be LTS right from the start. 16 was, but that was a bit unusual because actually the 15.9, etc., they were all almost LTS. 17 introduces a lot of things. And so it would not be good to call it an LTS right at the day one. Okay,
well, raise your hand if you're still trying to learn 2Sexy14 things. So yeah. No, I love the cadence, but sometimes it is a bit hard to keep up. But it's good. We need to be motivated. So, that's awesome.
I started using it seriously on 16, so I didn't raise my hand.
You haven't experienced this yet, huh? Yeah, you will, because 17's coming soon. So oh, that's great.
Yeah. So just one heads up for version 17 that's coming. We're going to require people to install the code DOM on DNN to use 17. It just makes much nicer code, and I'm almost ashamed to say that I hadn't even known about this a year ago. I actually only found out about this about a half a year ago at a DNN conference, that I was always like, why can't we use new C# features? In version 17, we're going to require people to install it. And this is basically in line with the DNN strategy, where it's going to be auto-installed in version 10. It's just, we can't wait that long, but the code just gets so much nicer, and we have some really crazy stuff that we're doing in the background with automatically compiling code in the apps. So that's going to need that, and we're going to require it to be installed.
How do people even live without string interpolation? How is that possible?
Actually, the null coalescing is like my thing. It's like, that's terrible that you have to check null on every step of the path.
Yeah.
I tell you what, whenever we jump into the point where I've got a DNN instance up and running, remind me, and I'll show those that do not know what we're talking about. I'll show you real quick how to install that. It's super simple. But it shipped, if it pre DNN 10, it's an available extension. So you just basically go there and install it, and it gives you the wonderful later features of C#. So, and Jeremy just recently did a presentation on this. Was that in the Southern Fed, or was it in the 2Sexy meetup? I can't remember. Anyways, check out both YouTube channels, and you'll find his presentation, which was really good out there. All right. The other community worthy thing, speaking of Jeremy, he recently published 2 blog articles that were excellent, and this is where I get to follow my sword. I skimmed them, Jeremy, and I'm like, oh, I need to come back to this. But both of them are out on the dnncommunity.org site on the blog. And they're really kind of covering some of the new Razor typed stuff and how to deal with that. And it's pretty cool. Very well written. Thank you for doing that. And I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I have not.
Yeah, it was kind of a learning process. I knew what I wanted to do, and it took 2 parts to get to the finish line. And even now I want to go back and fix 2 more things, but I probably won't.
Well, this is great. So anybody that's looking or trying to, this is a pretty decent starting point, right? To learn some of this stuff. And at
That was
least
my main point, was I was trying to show other people here the key things as you change over to Razor type.
So this is great. I know it's not super simple to put together these wonderful blogs like this for people, but it's becoming much easier to do so, especially with tools like ChatGPT that can kind of help you when you get a kind of a framework or use something like that. So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of encourage people to do stuff like this. As you learn something, share the knowledge, and who knows, you may be like Jeremy, and in 3 years you're trying to figure out how to do something for a project, and you do a search and you find your own blog article, and you go, "Oh,
happened to me.
that's how you do that."
I once had an 11-year gap and found my own answer that I posted. So, and there,
Awesome.
now we've got the GIF in the video. Perfect.
Does
everyone know what movie that is?
Nope.
Is it Three Amigos or no? No, that's too old for that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I something like, I'm forgetting now. I'll put myself on the spot. It's like Treasure of the Sierra Madre, maybe.
Okay.
1954, Humphrey Bogart.
Oh, wow.
59, maybe 59. Man,
Nice.
I'm usually good at that trivia stuff. No, wait, trivial was correct.
Well, this is good. Thanks for doing this, Jeremy, and encourage everybody to check this out, including myself. It's on my task list to go back and review when I have a little bit more time, because this is not a 5-minute read. You got to spend a little bit of time with this. So this is great. Anything else kind of in the community for Too Sexy that is noteworthy at this point that I missed?
Well, DNN itself got an update. That's in the Too Sexy community.
That is true. 9.13.1 was released. Few bug fixes and then small improvements and stabilization and all that kind of stuff. So be sure
I would have something very small to show, which we're also hoping to release next week.
Sure, go ahead.
Let me find out again how to share on this. I'm more used to other tools here, but this looks just about right. Right. One of the things, we've always had this Möbius forms, which is like a forms tool, but it was meant to make very custom forms. So it was fairly sophisticated to use. So it was powerful, but basically anything you did, you had to start programming to make things work. And we're going to create a new one here. And as you can see on each input field, I have the normal Too Sexy bubbles. So I can say, well, I would like to move this field down, and it moves down. And I can say I would like a new field, and you can start saying that you have a new field and what type it is, and you'll get different settings for that. So it's going to be a form designer now too. And I think that's going to open up a lot of use cases and just make it more useful for scenarios where we used to have a lot of other form components. Oh, someone's happy. Great.
Yeah. This may be a game changer.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
Because I know a very long time ago we had things like, I think it was called simple forms or dynamic forms. Yeah. and they of course failed, and multi-language was a problem, and then they stopped getting support. So kind of like today, there's only like 1 or 2 form tools out there, but they're very high end. And this should again fill the gap to do something quickly, even so the customer could more or less configure it, but still have all those injection points where you can say, well, I'm going to do something special here. So for example, on a field, you could also say that this is actually an advanced field, which will then actually put a razor file right there where the field is. So that means you can start lightweight, but still go crazy when you need it. So
very cool.
I think this is really going to be awesome.
Wow, thanks for the tease. That's it's fantastic. What, any general thoughts on timeline on this, or is it still too early to say?
Actually, we actually hope to get it out by Christmas.
Oh, wow. Oh, so maybe this is a precursor hint to some holiday giftings kind of things.
Exactly. We always have our Christmas gifts,
Yes,
right? So this
yes,
is going to be one of them. And the other really huge thing we have, which is actually way bigger than this, at least technically more sophisticated, is Donchi has something, but I'm not sure if he can demo it right now. Donchi, what do you say?
Okay, I can show you. It's not everything perfect, but okay, I can show you some code so you can get idea what is behind. So actually, I will try to share my screen. This is first time I'm trying to do it in Zoom. So hopefully, I will pick right one.
So as he's finding his way, let me just quickly tell you what this is about. When you want to share code, you put it in a CS file, right? But to call it, you basically end up in a situation where the data passed back and forth isn't really strictly typed anymore. And that is kind of sucky. The compiler cannot tell you when things are wrong, which means you have all these problems, right, that come with dynamic stuff again. And what we've been really working on really hard now is that you can have a folder. Probably it's going to be the app code folder. And basically any file in there is just going to be automatically compiled into a DLL and injected into your Razor and any other code on your application. Which means if there's a function in there, it'll be strictly typed. You can call it, you can work with the result. You can even have a result object, which is perfect. And the code will just work.
Yes.
And yes, so.
Yeah, so here we have one very, very simple app. So it has only one view here. And we have new folder called app code. Probably it will be renamed very soon. Here in our view, we have this special using. We are using myapp.code. And that is actually referring to any C# code that we put in this folder here. So here we can have any number of C# files, and those. So it is not as before that you have to include one C# file, but you actually can create a very big app here. So this example here is having just two classes. And one class is actually referring second one and etc. just as a test to show that they understand each other. And then we can use that here in our app, in our view. So for instance, here I created the instance of first class, and then I'm playing with a property that is actually using the second class, just setting here and then showing those things here. And so in behind all that is actually compiled in DLL. So all this code from here become a part of this myapp code DLL. And the purpose of this DLL is actually to get IntelliSense within Visual Studio Code. So if, as usual in TooSexy, if we just change anything here on live, it will be compiled in behind, and if we refresh play page, we will see it. So hopefully we have to wait a moment because I was playing with this like, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, so my DNN probably go to sleep. But yeah, in usual situation, it will be in a second. So for instance, I will just change this value here, and as we can see, it should be in this T1 line. So it is changed. And so good. You are just writing your code, you are using Visual Studio Code, you have IntelliSense there. So all usual stuff. to get IntelliSense, yeah, you need to create that project file that yeah, Daniel show us and explain everything in too sexy documentation. And cool thing is actually that, and that was also the hard thing, is that this code here is available only to this app. So that if you have many apps on same page, there will not be bleeding of code to different apps. So you are kind of safe to do whatever you plan to do. For now, you have just to take care to work under this namespace, so myapp.code, and that is probably just the beginning of some other things that will come in the future. And also hard thing here was to keep this code separated between different apps, and because it is not easy to do it in .NET framework in the DNN, and actually that part took us time to figure how to do it in correct way. And so now we are in the final phase. We are finishing testing, and hopefully in a few days it will be released as a part of next version of DNN. So yeah, Daniela, if you have anything to add.
Yeah, so I think this is just going to be a huge game changer, because just being able to have typed classes that you pass around that have methods on them. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody in here can already see what this can mean, right?
It's amazing.
Thank you.
I don't know how you guys pulled that off.
Well, they required code DOM.
That's part of the, yes, because
so
we need
they get
the
Roslyn. Yeah. So
Yes.
yes, and the rest, there's really a lot of magic here. And I have to say, I think Donji's been working on this for at least 3 months now, full time. So
wow.
and we had a prototype working in Octane, I think 2 months ago already. But then .NET Framework had such more restrictive APIs and different memory models and everything. So it's kind of crazy how deep you have to go into the compile process to understand this stuff, and to then figure out how to segment things that even if it's in the same namespace, you don't bleed across apps and stuff. So yeah. So this is why we're saying version 17 is not going to be LTS right away.
Gotta battle test that a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, guys. Cool. Let's jump into the workshop, because I have very little time to do this. Oh no, that's totally worth it. It's no apologies necessary. Okay, so what we're going to do today, and this is going to be a little bit quick, but I think we'll still have time for some questions and stuff through it. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you are interested in learning a little bit, I mean, even if it's not the topic, like we're going to actually implement a simple data tables kind of implementation using 2Sexy today, because it's a very powerful and quick way to provide things that in the past maybe you would have had to written a custom module for, or use some other third-party module or something to be able to do this. I'm not even aware of any that actually do this out of the box, generically speaking, but super fast. We're going to actually build it in a local environment. So even if you're not interested in data tables per se, and you just kind of want to play along here and maybe learn some things in the process, that's cool. I will preface all this to say, this is not the best way to do things. It's just a way to do things. So for instance, I'm not going to be using the new Razor type stuff today, just simply because I've got another implementation that I'm actually using as a reference on this, and it did not have that. So instead of trying to make things too complicated today, I thought I would use that as kind of my starting point for today. But what we're going to do is we're going to build a simple app. If you're not familiar with data tables, let me pull up a tab to show this is datatables.net. Great. There's some other tools similar to this out there, and some of which are just, well, that's interesting. I've never seen that in the dropdown. They have vanilla JS version. Well, there we go. Daniel, we were talking about this earlier. And I was thinking that, man, I really hate that we bring jQuery in for this stuff like this, but I forgot that I didn't even realize they got a vanilla JS. Okay, so this is data tables, but basically some great stuff right out of the gate with just a simple implementation. You've got a way to limit the number of results here. You've got a way to search the information here. So if I start typing engineer, misspell or whatever, you know, you get wonderful sorting here out of the box. If I start typing in London, get all the London entries, and you get paging right out of the box for this kind of stuff as well. Very simple code. So this is just kind of what you need to do in JavaScript here. Let me switch to jQuery because that's what I'm going to be using this time, but you could just as easily do this in JavaScript evidently, and I didn't even realize it. So you'll typically pull in 3 different JavaScript files, like if you're using a framework like Bootstrap or something, you know, for styling. So one of which is just their jQuery being pulled, or a jQuery being pulled in, and then their jQuery version of the JavaScript, and then their Bootstrap 5. And then they also have what's not listed here, and it's a little bit, it can get you in trouble if you want this to be responsive version of the table. You also need to bring in their responsive JS, which we'll see here in just a little bit. And then as far as CSS goes, you'll be bringing in their Bootstrap, or this is just Bootstrap here, and then their bootstrapped CSS that sits on top of it to be able to get this nice styling out of the box. So we're just going to create a simple app. We may even use this as a guide for us as we create fields through here, or we may make it a little bit more simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm really kind of starting mostly from scratch, but I'll be grabbing some code snippets here and there as we go through. So I'm going to use MV QuickSight to set up a really quick local instance here. We'll just go ahead and use 9.13.1 for this. And we'll call this Too Sexy DT Demo, something like that. And I've got .loc there. That looks like a good place to put it. And that looks good. We'll go ahead and set this up. And if you don't know about MV QuickSight, you probably should. Very quick way to set up a local instance if you have SQL Server installed and IIS available. Great. We have a site now. We can launch it. And I did set it up for SSL, so I'll go ahead and accept the warning there for the local SSL dev certificate. I started to set all this up ahead of time, but I figured some people might like to see how quick it is to do stuff like this. So I'll just put some basic information in. We'll call this Too Sexy data tables demo. And yeah, we'll make it a blank website. How about that? Don't need that. And feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Yeah, Jeremy, I've got a beast of a machine here, so it's
Yes,
it's pretty,
I do know.
and it's probably antiquated by now. So, but NVMe drives.
Yeah, if you guys want to see how much slower mine is, just watch the last video where I demoed that.
Okay, so now we've got a local instance of DNN. We'll go ahead and visit that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to install Too Sexy real quick. And I am using, just because the sample app that I have was based off of 16.2, I'm going to install 16.2 just so we don't run into any issues. But theoretically, it should work in the latest as well. So. All right, so now we are logged into DNN. I'll do extensions. This reminds me, earlier we were talking about CodeDOM. I'll show that to you real quick. If you go to available extensions here and go to libraries, there it is. So that it seems like that's going to be required for version 17 of 2Sexy. So that's how you would install it. Nothing more to do other than click install and we're good to go.
Yeah, and one minor detail, if you have an older DNN, it comes with an older code DOM, but you can also install the latest code DOM there as well. It works.
Yes. And then when DNN 10 is released, this will no longer be an available extension. It'll be installed by default.
I feel like we actually determined where the earliest DNN was that you could install the code DOM for C# 7.3. And I'm drawing a blank right now, but I think it was around 9.2 or 9.1.1, somewhere in that area. Before that, it does not work.
Oh, interesting.
But you can take it backwards from when it appeared.
Mhm. And then 2Sexy is 9.6.1 anyways at the moment. So
That's right. Yeah, there's a good cutoff right there.
Excellent. We'll just wait for this and then we'll get into the fun stuff. Tell you what, while that's running, I'll go ahead and jump into, now there's a couple of different ways that you can go about doing this. What we tend to do is whenever we're doing 2Sexy apps and so forth, we'll put any kind of dependencies like data table. We'll actually put that in the theme because it's in a node environment that we don't have to set up, you know, something specific for the app. But you could just as easily do this inline in the template itself, which not really the best practice, or you could have a node project for your app that you could package manage the data table stuff as well. If you do it directly in the template, you would probably use the CDN version of data tables to pull it in. So basically you grab these snippets. Oh, they don't even put it here in their example. Sorry, somewhere in the documentation here, it'll just give you the script tags to be able to pull in these CDN references to the table and these CS references. You, of course, would probably have Bootstrap in your theme instead of in 2Sexy app, but you theoretically could do this. So there's different ways to do this, and I'm just going to show one. So let me pull up a theme that I just pre-created for demo purposes. So this is not meant to be a lesson on how to do theming or whatever, but got a basic package JSON. We've got the three packages that we needed. And at the time that we wrote this theme, it was these versions, but they're probably later now. And because we were using Bootstrap 5 in this theme, as you can see, 5.2.2, and that's the packages that corresponded to that we needed. So we got the BS5 package, we got responsive, and we got responsive BS5. For this, the only other kind of magic, and this is based off of MV Quick theme, but we use Gulp in here. And if you look for data tables, we define where these are in node modules here. And we're basically, we got a task to copy these files and these files to the destination directories that we need. So nothing real crazy there. Data tables. And it's just a basic Gulp task to do both the JavaScript initialization and CSS initialization. As far as where you would actually pull it into the theme, you would have it within an ASCX file somewhere. So we have basically these partials, one of which handles the includes. And here are your data table ones here. So you could also use the client resource manager here to pull in from a CDN as well. I don't really recommend it, but you can do that. People do it all the time. Do that. I think there's performance hits when you do that, but you could do that instead of referencing, you know, in your distribution, the files here, you could use CDN here. Any questions about that? Because that most of you probably know this stuff already. So that's how we get the data tables in there, but this could easily be done just via script tags in your 2Sexy template when you make it, or in package management within your app in 2Sexy. So there's kind of the foundation where we're starting from. So here we should have 2Sexy installed here. So let's go ahead and add 2Sexy to a page. I probably need to refresh this. Should have hit refresh before I started that, huh? Okay. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. We go here and I'm going to add 2Sexy to the page. I'm going to add an app module. All right. So at this point, we just need to create an app, and we'll go into apps here, and we'll create an app. I'm just going to call this table. You probably named something more specific to the implementation that you're doing, but that's a nice generic name for us. So I'll go into the administration of the table app now. So we'll start with our content types here. We're going to use a method here that we use quite a bit, and it's a little confusing the first time you see it. If you haven't seen this, we can talk about it in a little bit more detail. My guess is most of you probably have done this kind of thing, but on the view itself, instead of it being, because basically you got a table, right, which is a list of rows. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll create a content type for rows or row list, and then we'll create a content type for row, and that'll have our fields that we want for the data table. And then in the view, we'll do a single content item, but the content type that we associate it to will be row list. So basically we're doing that for a better administrative experience so that you can just click on the list and edit all your records there or individually on the row. So you'll see what I mean in just a minute. But if that throws you off, let me know and we'll chat about that a little bit. And there's other ways to do this, but we just found that this is a really good editing experience. So I'll do a row list here and we'll do a row. All right. So usually in the row list, we will have just basically a label just for back-end reference purposes field, and we'll have a rows field. And this will be an entity. We'll relate that to the row itself. So we'll go ahead and save that, and we'll go into the rows, and we will relate that to the row, which we'll set up in just a minute. And then we'll toggle this over to multiple on that. That's all there is to it. So that way we can have as many rows in the data table as we want. And we're done with that content type. We'll now go into row. Get my other screen up here so that I don't mess something up. So here's where we're going to add our column names essentially as fields. So in this example, we've got, let's just use a few of these like name, position, office, and age maybe. So we'll add a name field. And I already forgot what they were, position. And just for the heck of it, let's just make this a drop down. And that way it can only be one of the number of positions that the company has, I guess. That would be easy enough. And we'll do, what was the next one? Office. We do the same thing with office, maybe. This company's only gonna have a limited number of offices. Now, you know, in a real world, these could be related to other content types. You can have a content type for all the positions. You have a content type for the offices, and put some extra metadata in those if you want, but we'll keep it simple and we'll just do a hard-coded drop down for these. And then the last one, what was that? Age. I guess this one here would probably need to be a number. So we'll just go with save. So now we got our columns for our data table. So we're almost done with this. So let's go and let's create a view here. And let's see, just call this table to keep it generic. And we'll need to add a template here, and I'll just call this table. Well, I could have just left it there where it was. That's fine. I'll lowercase it. Table. We'll create that. And then maybe I'll come, well, we'll go ahead and configure this, I guess. So what I was talking about earlier would be configured here. So here we'll use single content item. And that's the confusing part. It's like, well, this is going to be a list of rows. So you might be inclined to do a list here, but we're going to do a single content and we'll relate it to the row list here. Does that make sense on that? Because we're basically going to, it's basically for the end administrative experience that we want to do that. Do you might have like better ways that they see doing this, or?
So I would have some suggestions. It depends a little bit on what you're planning on doing. Like if it's really just this module has 17 items, then it's probably easier to just say the content type is the row, and then say you also have headers, and that would be anything that is like.
And that would be the row list or whatever for the header.
Basically, yeah, that would probably make it simpler. And there's another use case I could think of, but I'll maybe chime in when you're done.
Yeah, that'd be good to know. We've tried different ways of doing that, and one of which is what you just mentioned. And we just found that the editing experience for training purposes is a little bit easier doing it like this and keeping things simple on it. But let's just call this, we're going to set up a demo item here for the list. And this would be, what was this called? It was like, they didn't really call it anything. So I guess this would be what, employees or something like that, or personnel. So we'll call this employees, and we'll add a demo employee. So we'll just call this Jane Doe. And we didn't set up our positions and offices, so I probably need to go and do that, but we'll just say, I don't know, 23 for the age. And we'll add one more, I guess, for John Doe. And we'll say he's also 23. That should be enough for right now. We'll go real quickly and just set up the position drop down and the office drop down. So we'll just say down here, we'll just say management or manager, I suppose. And we'll say developer, and we'll say designer or something like that. We'll pretend like they're an agency. And since we have mostly developers, we'll make developer the default. Then office, let's just say, we'll say Charlotte, we'll just do Mooresville, and we'll do Fort Mill. We'll just say 100. Not that this matters to anybody, but these are cities that are local to here, and we'll say that Charlotte is the corporate office maybe, and that'll be the default. Okay. So now we have those set up, we could go in and fix our demo items here. So let's go here. And Jane Doe, say she's a designer, yes. Oh, the defaults didn't work. Interesting. Wonder why. Say he's a developer.
They
And
weren't new items.
ah, that's it. Yep, yep. Yes, if we did a new one, I guess. Yeah, there we go. That's it. All right, so we have the demo items set up. So now we can kind of start working on our view. And just in the interest of time, because we only have a few minutes left, I'm going to have to just do a copy paste here and then just show you the way this works. So I'm going to copy this from another project. Real quickly, what we do is set up a variable for the rows, and that's just content.rows. And then from here, it's basic Bootstrap layout for a data table. You could literally take the HTML that they have here and get rid of all the rows essentially. So you got your table head, that would obviously be your column names. There's definitely more robust ways to do this, but you could set this up. We have this as other columns. Didn't even think about that. So this would be name. This would be position. Oops. What was the other one? Office and age. So obviously, hard coding these may or may not fit your use case. You could be more robust and do a dynamic kind of thing. That would be quite a bit more on the complex side or advanced side of things. But you can see here now, we can just reference name and position. We're basically looping through the rows at this point. So we got item in as list, and if you're using type, you'd do this a little differently, obviously. This would be office, and this would be age. And then also this section here is really a snippet for if you don't have any rows at all, to show that you don't have any content or no entries. Let's see, currently no employees, we'll put it that way. And then this is the simple script. This is the jQuery version of this because that's what we have in the theme for this. And basically we use the content, the entity ID here for make sure that this is a unique data table. And that's obviously for the row list. So for each instance of this, you would have, there's better ways to do this, but this is a real quick way, quick and dirty way. And out of the box, if we don't configure, basically you'd put all your configuration in here. So like if you didn't want paging or you didn't want search capabilities or sorting for the columns and stuff like that, then you can configure that in here following the documentation out here. So I'll save this. And one thing I just realized is I never did install the theme. So what I did right before this meeting was I set up this theme and I went ahead and built it so that I have an install package that'll make it really easy for me to just install this theme. So I'm going to install the theme. That way we have data tables in there. So I'll just go to, you can either go to extensions or go to themes. Install theme. I'll drag this over. That way our template won't go, what is data tables? And we'll just say there. And we'll wait for that to load, and then we will go ahead and apply the theme to the site. Now, if we reload this, and we'll go ahead and now that we've got our app together, we'll just choose the table app for this. And we will choose the view that we created for this. Now, we still have Exilion here, so I'm going to go into the home page and change that to this, and I'll remove the home.css and we'll save. And if we reload this, this will look nice and pretty, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Bada bing, bada boom. So I'll go out of edit mode here just to kind of show it, but we got a nice, beautiful table here up at the top. We've got our tag toolbar for this. Now, I also am not using Kit here, so there's definitely better ways to do it. This was an older project too on this, but basically we're providing edit capabilities on the row list and using the label that we put in there for it. So we had called it employees. And then for each individual item down here, we have a tag toolbar for editing and adding a new record here. And that is using the item here. So that gives us the edit capability. And this is the user experience. Now this loaded it with the demo item. So I'd probably want to change that out, swap that out for real data at this point if it was a real project. But you could see in here just very quick editing of the fields. And if we added a bunch of more, let's just go here and add, let's see, Susie. Susie, I can't think of last names, and we'll just do something like this and so forth. In this experience, since we do have the sorting turned on, you very quickly, I mean, you get all this out of the box with your data tables. So fantastic way to quickly allow, clients to edit their stuff, add their records and so forth on this. Let's just create employees here, and we will select these rows to be in the real data instead of just demo data here. So we have that, but they could very quickly, you could have a grid for, your staff directory or whatever it is that you need to implement, and they can quickly be able to edit, add new records. You could add, remove, so it could delete those records or remove those records from it. But we found this very, very quick and easy to do. As you can see, there's no real rocket science here. And yeah, there's some stuff that's hard coded, but the trade-off of making this like super robust and dynamic would, may pay off in the end. But this is so quick and easy to do for each use case that you have that we found it pretty useful. Any questions or better ways to do stuff?
This is awesome. When you get to the finish on all the setup, it's amazing.
Yeah, so I guess to recap, I mean, we're loading data tables in the theme. That way we can, package manage it, but you could also do that within your app within 2Sexy as well if you set it up as a node project. And leveraging the styles obviously from the theme, but basically this is out of box Bootstrap look and feel with their packages. I think the hardest part initially was just knowing which packages to load from here. Now that I know they have a plain vanilla JS, we will be converting to using plain vanilla JS instead of jQuery anymore, because that will even help even more performance, not having to load jQuery. But template's really straightforward and simple. You see how fast it is to set up the content items for this, and I mean the content types for this, and yeah, so I thought people might find this very useful.
I really like it. So very cool.
Awesome. I can't believe we did it within an hour. I mean, I'm 2 minutes late, but that's awesome. Thanks for letting me rush through that there here at the end. But yeah, if you have any questions later on, ping me up on Discord or on Slack or email or phone call, whatever it is. Be happy to help anybody with this kind of thing. But
You guys hear me?
yes, sir.
Yeah, this is awesome. We use this on a lot of stuff, and I'll try and post it somewhere. We have a little add-on that uses JavaScript so that you can just add one single button to export the table to Excel, and it's really awesome.
Oh, cool.
So
Okay.
3 lines of code and you can export to Excel. It's shocking.
That's great. Is that like a plugin or something for data tables or? something
Believe it
you
or
guys do?
not, it's some Java. It's JavaScript.
Huh.
It's a library, JavaScript library you add in addition.
Okay.
One button looks at the table, gives you an export. It's so much value, just like data tables. We use this stuff all the time. The search is just client delight. Once they see instant search like that on the page, you know, there's no going back.
So you're
We
also
got a
using
couple of
data
projects
tables
with
when you're talking about
thousands.
search?
Oh yeah, that little search box over there.
Oh.
It's you know, it's happening entirely client side. We have a couple of projects where there's like 11,000 records, and it's instant as you type search on data, and it's just fabulous. You have to put some effort into getting those 11,000 records from the server down to the browser and stuff, but that can be streamlined. We've got all kinds of examples of this, and we really, really enjoy working in data tables. It makes things so simple. It's a lot of return on investment for getting it working.
Indeed. Yeah, we've used it for simple stuff and very complicated stuff as well, and clients love it. Used to, we would have to write custom modules for this kind of thing, but I mean, as you can see, you can super quickly put together what appears to be something very complex, but in a very simple fashion.
And once you get the hang of it, the second time is easy. First
Yeah.
time, there's a little fumbling, but once you figure out where everything's happening, and as long as you already understand client side versus server side, oh my God, it's great.
Agreed.
Cool.
Very, very cool. Well, I'll go ahead and stop sharing, but thanks everybody for joining. This is a fun one. We learned a lot of cool new stuff potentially coming along here in the near future. We've got 26017 coming up, and we learned how to make some cool data table application here in here. So it was a really cool meetup. Appreciate everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful remainder of your week. See you next month.
Yeah, and a good end of year.
Yeah, same to you.
See
Take
y'all.
care. Bye-bye.
Bye.